Jimmy, very good to have you on here, sir. Thank you so much.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah. I recently caught you on your tour with Dent May back when you guys were playing at the Tiki Bar in Costa Mesa.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a
nice. Fun show.
yeah, fantastic. Really, really, really good.
Thanks.
Um, at one point, and for those who aren't familiar with the venue, there's a little door that leads to the outside, like a little back area, smoking area kind of a thing. And during your performance, you got off stage and went to the back and kind of sung out there with the microphone for a bit before coming back in. I thought that was great.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fun little bit I do sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. You explored the space. I've never seen anybody
Yeah.
do that before. That was awesome.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I try to keep it interesting.
Yeah. Have you always been comfortable on stage? Have you always felt like, all right, I can just kind of do whatever I want up here? Or did it take some time to kind of ease into that?
When I was younger and I had different bands, I had terrible stage fright. um Felt like where I feel like I was gonna throw up or pass out or whatever. But doing this project, it's kind of always been just kind of going real hard and going out there and just leaving it all on the floor kind of. So yeah.
Yeah. When did you finally overcome that feeling of dread before a show?
Um just I think just doing this project, like the it's just I guess like my older bands, I would be playing guitar and switching between guitar and synth and stuff, and this project I've always just only sang, and it's always been more of a uh kind of performative thing. So yeah, I whenever I started doing Jimmy Whispers shows, that's when I kind of had the no stage fright. So yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah.
I feel like you get more. I feel to me, I've talked to people about this, and I don't know. I feel like it's a different thing for everybody, but I feel like to me, I feel like I get when I do get any like stage fright or anxiety being on stage, it's like when it's a smaller show and it's mostly just your friends. I feel like that's when I get anxious or stressed out. But if I'm playing, some opening some sold out show to mostly strangers, I'm like, great, let's go. Like, let's do that. But I feel like if it's some small show to just friends, it's kind of like,
Yeah,
get
that's
all
that's
stressed
so
out.
odd, but it does seem like it adds like a different element, pressure, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather play to strangers. I like playing to friends, but I don't know. That's kind of a thing, I feel like, for
Right.
at least
Right.
personally. I feel like
I've
some other people can relate to that, but
I've heard
yeah.
comedians talk about that a lot as well. Like, oh shit, there's my parents' neighbor or whatever, my cousin
Yeah.
or
Yeah, yeah. Anyways.
do you remember the first time you stepped on stage? Do you recall that?
mm, Feel like I don't know, I played like when I was like in high school or something, playing at some coffee shop or something like that, like 17 or 16 or something like that. And just probably bombing horribly.
Have you ever seen a performance at a coffee shop that you went, "Oh, that went really, really well"?
No.
Exactly. I don't think anybody has. I don't think it's the right venue to
Yeah.
hold something in.
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of the option if you're like 16 and in the suburbs or something like that. Like, what else are you gonna do?
Right. Um, Do you recall how you felt after the performance that first time?
Uh, I'm probably pretty good. Just, that's kind of a big first step for a kid to like play a first show, you know. Probably
Right. Yeah.
felt some kind of accomplishment or wanting to do it again or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you still feel that way after shows now?
Mm, I don't know. I don't know what I can't, I don't know. I'm not really thinking about playing live too much at the moment. I'm kind of in at home creative mode right now, like finishing a record and just working on a lot of projects and not really, I don't know, my mind's not on stage right now, you know. But I have a tour, and that's funny because I have like a pretty substantial tour coming up, and I'm kind of not even thinking about it. Kind of just,
One
yeah,
day at a time, right?
yeah.
Was there a show that you saw or a concert that you saw early on that kind of helped inform your presence on stage at all?
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I think I feel like I grew up seeing a lot of like punk bands and stuff like that, and that probably informed something, wanting to do something, with energy and not really the kind of like laxed, chill vibe or something,
Yeah.
That's probably pretty informative. Um, but yeah, I don't know. There's not like one show I can trace things back to or anything like that.
Do you remember the first show you ever saw? The first concert you attended?
The first concert I ever attended was with my parents at uh the this uh big outdoor venue outside of Chicago called the Ravinia, and it was Peter, Paul, and Mary. That
Sure.
was the first concert I ever saw officially. And then I think just like a splattering of kind of dumb bigger concerts at like there's this place, the Tinley Park Amphitheater outside of Chicago, and it changed names a bunch of times. It was like the Tweeter Center, the whatever. I don't even know what it's called now. It's called like probably named after a bank or something. It's like first First National Bank Pavilion, something like that. But
A way cooler name than what it was. Yeah, the first
yeah,
National Bank Arena.
Tinley Park Amphitheater. But I saw, yeah, like just a bunch of concerts that didn't really align with any particular taste, like I saw Weezer, I saw Dave Matthews Band, like I don't know, just like whatever my much older sister would take me to. And but yeah, I feel like those, and then I started going to shows like with friends on my own to like going downtown to like in Chicago to like the Metro and stuff like that, seeing more like kind of punk bands and stuff. Um, yeah. I was telling somebody the other day at that amphitheater, I saw one of the best shows. I feel like I was maybe 19, maybe 18. The Cure had this like touring festival. They did like a touring like 9 or 10 band bill with like a side stage and stuff. And that was at that amphitheater. That was extremely good show. That was a really informative show, I think.
All right, all
Yeah.
right. Very nice.
Yeah.
Did seeing these performances and these kind of different concerts, legends like Dave Matthews, Weezer, these kind of people, did
Dave,
I yeah,
legend.
shout out to
Uh,
Matthews. Did those kind of earlier performances that you witnessed in Peter, Paul, and Mary and such, did those kind of have a push for you to like want to begin creating music? Or was it something else that kind of was the catalyst for you to get
I
inspired?
don't know. Since I was very young, I was like a very creative uh kid. I would spend a lot of time in my room. I'd be like, go to my parents and like, I wrote a movie. And like, or like, oh, I made a song, before I knew how to do any of those things. Like, oh, I made I had some big project in my mind or something. So I feel like I don't know what inspired that mindset really, or like, but I've kind of just always been like that, like since I was at a very young age, come out with like uh, a hairbrush and like, I wrote a song, like I'm gonna sing you this song I wrote, or just random stuff. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I was always like, I wrote a song, I made a movie. Like I wrote a movie. Like let me reenact it for you, that kind of. So I don't know. I don't know what started that really, but I've kind of always been like that.
And you got two of the movies are in development right now, or you wrote the treatment for them, and they're kind of you're in talks with people. I don't want to say the names.
I do have a documentary I've been making for
Really?
for a while. Yeah. Um, yeah, and I'm kind of done filming it, and I'm probably gonna start editing it in the fall. But I made this documentary on this guy Roger, who is he's he's kind of like a little bit of a local legend. He's kind of like a busking guy. He's like a performer. Um, he's kind of busks all over town, and he's an author. Not a lot of people know about his writing, but he spent like so many years finishing this book, and it got published last year. And yeah, his life is the stuff of movies. It's like he is the most like unbelievable life, like his upbringing, his life story. So I made a documentary on him, and we'll see how that comes together in the end. But yeah, and I did that. I've been making a lot of music videos for a lot of bands. That's kind of become part of my artistic practice as well. So yeah, we'll see how that documentary comes together. I'm excited about it. This guy
Yeah.
that's lived the wildest life ever and is such an artist. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
I like that. I like that. So keep an eye out for that. You'll be posting about it and such.
Yeah, I'll do something. I'm not
A
really
Q and
sure.
A. You're taking it to Cannes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, when did you start making music? Around what age?
Um, I don't know. Like I said, like since I was little, I was always like, "Oh, I wrote a song. Oh, I made a song. Oh, I'm starting a band. Oh, So I feel like it's just been my entire life or something. But yeah, I definitely like had bands or projects like in high school or like my freshman sophomore year, like I like burned CDs and like made artwork and tried to sling it on fellow students or something. So I don't know. I just feel like I've always been making things in one form or another.
Yeah. Uh, Now, did you start with the guitar? Was that like an early?
That was my first instrument. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
my first instrument. Or no, yeah. No, actually the that was the first instrument I really learned. I had taken piano lessons prior to that, and my piano teacher died. She got West Nile's disease from a from mosquito bite, and one of the only cases in Illinois or something like that. I don't know. It was some weird rare thing, and
Yeah, that
she
is
had
pretty rare.
and I stopped taking piano lessons. But yeah, I guess yeah, it feels like guitar is my first instrument or like the first thing I really learned how to do. And it's funny because I've like in the Jimmy Whispers project or whatever, I've like avoided the guitar so much. Um, but now I've been playing it a lot the last handful of months. Just recording and working on new music and oh yeah, this is I'm like pretty good at this instrument or better at it than keyboard or whatever. So um yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel like music kind of came naturally to you, or did it take some time to kind of get comfortable with learning how to play and learning how to create songs?
Um I don't know. I'm an idiot. I I never kind of, for better or worse, I never really pursued it in any kind of like academic sense, you know? Um, I just kind of self-taught a handful of different instruments and a lot of, a lot of things I come up with aren't, end up being unique because of a mistake or a mishap or a whatever, how it comes out. And I enjoy that, but I always kind of down to learn more as I go. But I'm not really insanely technically proficient at anything. I can just kind of make my way around, and I don't know. Does that answer the question?
Definitely. You like to meander. You like to
No.
meander. Yeah. Was Light Pollution one of the first kind of quote unquote legitimate bands that you were a part of?
Oh God. Um, yeah, I guess so. I feel like yeah, I started that band when I then and I that band's my dirty little secret.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
don't
Yeah,
tell. It's fine. We're
we're gonna
talking about
we're gonna mark the time. We're gonna cut
I
this out.
no. It's staying in. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really tell people about that band. And am also, I don't know. It's just it feels so removed from what I do or like how I think about music. But yeah, that was like a band I started when I was like 18 in college. And the lineup changed a million times, the sound changed a million times, and eventually we got signed to Car Park, the label that put out my last record, coincidentally. But yeah, we got signed to that label, Car Park, and I want to say when I was like 23 or 22 or something, and we had already self-released like, a vinyl EP and like a handful of, CDRs or whatever, much different time. And we had already done some like self-booked touring, and we got signed to that label Car Park. We put out one record and then kind of uh disbanded. Is kind of like the record fell kind of flat. I wasn't really in love with pursuing that band anymore, and like kind of a couple band members, touring wasn't really something they loved doing, and I think they had to leave the band, and then it was just me and the drummer who like started the band left, and we were like, well, do we do this, do we do that? And by that time I was kind of like really wanting to do something drastically different. Like that band was kind of just felt like a like kind of run of the mill uh indie band of the very that sounded very of the time of 2010 sound. uh so yeah, I had already kind of started demoing or making music on this organ and doing Jimmy Whispers stuff. And yeah, so I don't know. That was kind of the end of that. No looking back ever
Yeah.
since.
Only forward, only forward.
Hmm.
So were you singing and playing the guitar in that band in Light Pollution?
Yeah, I was playing guitar and singing, and I had a Korg MS 2000 and would loop stuff on that, like loop and arpeggio, and play guitar and do a little synth solo, and I was singing also. So not yeah, not a lot of moving around,
No,
and
you
not
couldn't
not
really
very
couldn't explore so much.
yeah. But yeah,
And that band was based out of Chicago, right?
yes. That band started when I in DeKalb, Illinois, when I was going to college there. That was the only time I lived outside of Chicago prior to moving to LA.
Hmm.
DeKalb, Illinois, northwest Illinois, like 50, I want to say like 50 miles outside of Chicago. But then during the course of that band, we went to school for a few years, dropped out, moved back to Chicago, and we're based in Chicago. And yeah.
Very nice. Um, what was the music scene like when you came back, when you relocated back to Chicago?
Uh, um, well, I don't know. I feel like I kind of associate the start of Jimmy Whispers with that also. And there was just so much like DIY. There was so much like so many house shows and weird venues that people fucking slept in. And, there was so much of that. And that really made that city so cool and that scene so cool. And, also it has a lot to do with the times of things. And it's like free Spotify, free whatever the fuck, all that stupid shit. And it was like making zines, burning CDs and fucking tapes, and it was cool. It was so cool. And yeah, there was like a point where I lived in a like a DIY venue for a minute also. This place called Ball Hall that was in Logan Square. I guess more like Humboldt Park um neighborhood. And yeah, I don't know. There was so much cool DIY shit going on in Chicago. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I miss that a lot. Um, but also it's like I'm older. I'm not gonna fucking sleep in a venue, or live in a venue, uh, in like a lofted room with no door or whatever. And I don't know. I'm like sober, so I'm not really, that's not really part of that uh conducive to that lifestyle.
Ooh, good word. Yeah.
Um and thanks. I read books. I have I have some vocabulary, retain some vocabulary. Um
Again, pretty good one.
but yeah, so but yeah, I miss that DIY shit so much. Let's dumb it down again. Shit. I miss DIY shit so much. But yeah, I mean, things are different. That and also there's barely any of that going on in Chicago anymore. So it's not like, oh, I miss how things were in Chicago. It's like, nah, I miss a particular time period. Um, so and I mean, when I first moved to LA, there was a little more DIY stuff going on also. Like I remember I threw like immediately after moving to LA, I like helped throw a bunch of shows at like at Non Plus. We threw a the old Non Plus, the first location. We threw like a Halloween show that was like Tops and me and Dent May and Drug Dealer, and it was like like lots of cool DIY shit going on. Um, or whatever, more than there is now. Blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, there's not much DIY stuff going on in Chicago anymore either. I mean, so many of those places got shut down, closed down. Um, and but I still feel like there's a little bit more of that. Whatever. Anyways, next question.
What was the weirdest place that you've played? What was the weirdest like venue or space that was something else or just area?
Hmm. I feel like played a lot of weird. I'll start talking and the best answer will come. But I definitely played a lot of weird places in Europe. Like there's like venues where it's like, oh, this used to be a bathhouse and now it's this, you know, there's like this janky PA and this place fits 60 people or definitely a lot of stuff like that. Um, like a boat, played on some boats
That's
in
a good that
Europe.
venue. Yeah.
Yeah, boats, bathhouse. I don't know. Um, yeah, definitely a lot of those DIY places like in Chicago is like, oh, this is like a some weird basement, and it's connected to a boiler room or something, and there's pipes everywhere and whatever. Yeah.
Um, so I mean,
That's a good
how
question. I'm sure something better will come up as we go.
please
I'll
feel
I'll interject. Yeah.
please feel free. How long was light pollution around before it disbanded? What was the duration of the
Oh,
time
I
frame?
guess like I mean it started when I was 18 or 19. Started when I was 19. And maybe I guess I was 23. It stopped being a band around then. So I don't know, maybe 5 years or something. 4 years,
Yeah.
5 years, 5 years. Yeah.
Did you go directly from light pollution to working on Jimmy Whispers?
Yeah. There's some overlap too.
Ah,
I started doing the Jimmy Whispers thing, and then it was like this question of if that light pollution can continue to be a band. And I was like, no, it's not in me, not in my heart, not whatever. I needed to start fresh, and that band felt very stale. And yeah.
why did you decide to create a solo project instead of creating a new band?
Um, I mean, I feel like a lot of solo artists go that route Well, the Jimmy Whispers thing, like sound wise, was like an at home bedroom recording thing. It wasn't like it wasn't meant to it just the sound. It was me playing, and at the start of it was me playing an organ and singing on a cell phone, you know. So it wasn't, there was no like that, why would I have a band if that's what the record was?
Right.
And yeah, I think it kind of, and it's if you really, really want to pursue something long term, it's kind of hard to do it as a band, people, you know, it's a relationship. How do you have four or five people committed, dedicated to do something for a really long extended amount of time? Every band I know has like changed band members or whatever, like, or they break up after two records or whatever. It's kind of very difficult to maintain a band, but if it's, there's a lot of people who it's a solo project, but it has a band name. And then people are just like, oh, that band's been around a long time. It's like, yeah, but they've had eight different bass players and six different drummers, and you just remember the fucking idiot who sings or whatever. So yeah.
Do you feel like people that have these whatever self-titled or just like a one person kind of band thing tend to gravitate towards each other? Like for instance, you and Dent May, do you feel like people who are kind of in that same boat tend to be like, oh, you're doing the same thing I'm doing, let's
Mm,
whatever play together or
here's
something?
the thing about me and Dent. He and I have been friends for God, like 15 years now or something. Like my old band when we were on Car Park played a bunch of shows with Dent because he was originally on this label Paw Tracks, and they were sister labels. So we played like South by CMJ, whatever shit like that together. He set up show when he lived in Mississippi. He set up shows for us, and we'd stay with him and party with him or whatever. He'd come through Chicago. He'd always stay at my house. So like we'd known each other for so long. So I think it was like it's just that's something that, goes beyond, oh, you have a solo project, I have a solo. It's like, I don't know, this guy's just my fucking friend at this point, you know? Like I mean, he or I could stop doing music tomorrow, we'd be hanging out. So, um,
And
yeah.
yeah, shout out to Dent Main. Please go listen to that
Shout out
episode if you haven't.
our conversations, and our friendship goes far beyond music at this point. So I don't know. I don't know. And there's people I know like that who are in bands also, who
Right.
have bands. Band. Do you have a band do you have a solo project that's masquerading as a band, or are you a band? Are you a band? Yeah.
What is that point? What is the separation between the two for you?
I feel like a band is like the Stones or something, like you think about like, oh, it's these four people or whatever the fuck, and if any of them leaves, they have to break up. You can't have oh, well, it's a different band now. These two people left.
Hmm.
But I feel like the kind of rare circumstance where it's like, oh, we went through a lineup change, but it's like all the core members are there. Or like a band is more of like a like equal parts. Everyone has a say in the songwriting. Um, and it's not necessarily like one leader. or one songwriter, and it's kind of like I don't know, fucking Beatles or something. Like, oh, this is a song Ringo wrote, throw it in. Throw it in there. Like, he's in the band, he wrote a song for the album. But yeah, but there, I mean, there are a lot of, you know solo people who have a band name, who have a lot of collaborators, who oh, I didn't write this song, I collaborate on. But yeah, I feel like the band thing is kind of more and more infrequent, or like less, it's just less common these days, maybe economically or something. They're like sign of the times. Like, it's hard to uh keep something like that going, or it's hard to get people on the same page, or we're in such an age of like personality. Everyone's a personality. It's like, well, what about me? What about me though? What about me? I want the to be in the picture. I want the picture to only be me. Like, no one, everybody's so you know, there's less of, yeah, we're all equals here. Or yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Could
But
you see it reverting back to as a collective and not a solo
I
mentality?
don't know. Maybe the world would have to change a lot for that to happen. I don't
I think
know.
Dave Matthews has a song about that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does. Um, huh. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there is less and less of that. Just like it's an economic decision too, or something. Um, you know, uh, people, you know, it's hard to afford to bring a band on the road, or it's hard to, I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, let's get off the band.
Yeah.
The band
Yeah.
bands, or the solo bands, or the solos. Do you
Uh,
like how I just noticed, do you like how I put the computer in front of my tape machine and my keyboards?
no, I like it. It's a good
Like I'm a,
ambiance.
it's like I'm a make music. It's like, hey.
I believed you before, but if anybody doubted before, they are sorely mistaken. There it
Yeah,
is.
be funny. Oh, I just borrowed all this. Just knew it was gonna
The
be on film, so I had,
it's a rental. It's all rentals.
these are
Yeah.
my things. These are my things. I own something.
That was
Uh,
good. It's good. Uh, did you have an idea of what music you wanted to make with Jimmy Whispers?
I feel like I didn't know what I was gonna. I feel like jumping into it, I knew exactly what I was doing. Then I listened to. There's a lot of people who are really supportive and interested in that thing. Oh, I recorded a record on a phone with only an organ. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. That's so interesting. We're gonna write about you and our friend. I love your music and blah blah blah. Well, you know what you need to do to take it to the next level is record with a bunch of cool producers and get a band together and blah. It's like, wait, I thought you liked what I was doing, but I listened to people like a insecure dumbass, and then I made a bunch of different sounding music, and I feel like I went through some identity crisis period that I finally came out of like a month ago, and now I'm finishing a record I'm very, very proud of, that I pretty much recorded and played everything, and I'm back to not uh I don't know, I've full circle. So
The point is that you're back.
yeah,
Yeah.
whether anyone knows it or not, I know it. Anyways,
You know it. Dave knows it. Do you feel like the music that you listen to while kind of working on stuff kind of has an influence or an impact in some way of what the music that you make during that time frame is, or
mm,
the outcome of that music?
um, sure. I
Do
mean,
you
I feel like it's that way for everybody. You're not like listening to a bunch of one thing and working, making the exact opposite thing, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. A little bit, maybe.
Do you recall what you were listening to when you were hashing out songs early on for Jimmy Whispers?
This summer, I was just talking to my girlfriend about this. The Summer in Pain. When I was making those early organ iPhone stuff, the Summer in Pain stuff, because I like put on some like doo-wop songs the other night, and I was like, oh yeah, I had these couple like doo-wop, the greatest hits of doo-wop CDs that I was listening to all the time. And I feel like that was pretty influential. And I feel like you can hear that with like like I Get Lost in You in the Summertime, or like songs like that are very, it's kind of like a oldies doo-wop-ish kind of song,
Hmm.
like the way it's written or something, or like a lot of like kind of, you know, even like, or like real building, you know, songwriters or whatever, a lot of stuff like that. And I think that's nice. I think that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I like that stuff a lot. They got a just sentimental, uh, timeless sentimental music.
Was that the kind of the theme, if there was one, with Summer in Pain?
Hmm, I don't know. There's a lot of themes with that one.
It's
But there were themes.
combination.
They were themes. It wasn't uh it was self-aware, and there were actual themes. It wasn't some identity crisis recording bullshit, but it was very flawed and stupid as well. Anyways, uh
But
bum, bum, bum.
Summer of Pain was the first release from Jimmy Whispers, right?
Summer in Pain was the
Summer in Pain.
first record, yeah. And then
Mm.
it took me 8 years to put a different one out. And I made a couple and that I shelved also in the process. I made like 3 records that I never put out. But I don't know what I'm doing currently. I'm very excited about and wrapping up quickly, hopefully.
Good deal. Was that first release written and recorded in Chicago?
Yeah, that was like written and recorded on my that was recorded on my phone. I was in Chicago. I like made hundreds and hundreds of these like songs, demos on my phone, and there were like maybe 10 of them or whatever it happened to be that I was like, oh, this is going to be an album. And they were all kind of the similar themes. Yeah, that was all, I don't know. Yep.
And it was all recorded on the phone, on your phone.
Yeah, yeah. I put the phone, I had like I had these organs.
Mm-hmm.
I had an organ like that in Chicago in my bedroom, and I would put the phone on top of it and just write and perform a song, and that
Like,
was
was
it.
it like this way or was it like that way?
It
Was it
was flat. It was
flat?
like
Okay.
that. It was flat. It was on top of the organ. It was a little to the right. Just seriously. That
Did you find yourself putting it in the exact same like placement of it? Was it the same
kind
throughout?
of, yeah, yeah. I think I probably just like put it a couple different places and was like, oh, that sounds nice. Um, yeah. So
Wow, I didn't know that. There is a different kind of sound to that, but I didn't know that was the sound. So that's how the
yeah,
sausage is made.
yeah. It was no mixing, no editing, and just the iPhone voice memo.
Do you, what,
And it sounds like there was no mixing and no editing.
n-
It's
I like
very
it. I think
rough.
it adds to the feeling
Yeah.
that, yeah. Uh,
Um,
what kind of iPhone did you use for that?
I don't know. So the early ones, I
One of the
don't
early
know.
ones, right?
Yeah.
Did you record all those songs like in the same time frame?
Yeah. Yeah. I I made them all on this one particular organ. I got like a second organ when I switched. Huh. Yeah, I made them all on this one organ, and there was like an apartment I was in Ukrainian village that I lived in for, I want to say like 2 years. And I had this one organ in my bedroom. I made all these songs. And then I got a second organ, and I made another record like that. And for some reason, I didn't put it out. Like the same labels wanted to put it out. Should have just put it out. I did a lot of overthinking and self-sabotaging for a lot of years. But
But not anymore.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I feel really good about what I'm making currently.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. Do you think that you'll ever put out those songs that were that came after Summer in Pain?
I don't know. I don't know. Mm,
Time will tell.
I don't know. Maybe a big box set, a big old um unreleased rarities thing.
What
Who
are you
knows?
thinking for the format? Record, 8 track,
8 track. Yeah. Whatever is most accessible, you know.
that being 8 track.
It'll be an iPod Nano. You have to buy the iPod.
Oh, I like that. Do inspirations for songs tend to come in cycles, or is it kind of more sporadic in nature?
Um, uh, I feel like I go into, I do what I feel like it used to be pretty disorganized years ago where things would just come out sporadically, but now I feel like I'm in a good place, like mentally or my work ethic or whatever, where it's like an operation, and it's like the right thing that I do the things I need to do at the time they're needed, where I'm like, okay, I should write another record. Or, oh, okay, I should write songs. I should record songs. And I'll be really inspired to do that, and I'll just do that constantly. Like, okay, this like, I don't know, like with an album cycle or something. And it's like, okay, the album's turned in, time to make music videos. Okay. And then I'll just work only on music videos for months. And then I'm okay, I need to play shows. Time to get the band together or figure out what I'm doing, and I'll work only on that. I'm kind of become more like that, like doing what I need to do in the moment or something. But I've been, yeah, I still, when I need to write, I write a lot. So that's good. There's no like shortage of that, of ideas at any point. So that's nice. I'm grateful for that, I guess.
What was putting that first album together like for you? Did you feel like it was pretty quick, or did it kind of take some time to hash out some of the ideas for songs?
The Summer in Pain
Mhm.
album. Um, I I didn't think of it as anything I was gonna release really. I just like demoed like hundreds of songs on a phone, and then finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna perform these songs. Okay, I have this whole like Summer in Pain concept thing, and I started doing street art with that title, and had a zine that I was passing around the city, and like it kind of turned into something in a weird roundabout way or something. I don't know.
What was it about the track "Summer in Pain" that made you want to title the album after it?
Um, I mean, it was kind of this big umbrella idea, and it's kind of like felt like it was what the city was going through, like Chicago, with like like gun violence that summer, and just this kind of vibe in the air, and how that felt personally also, or I don't know. So it was a great title, nice thing. I don't know.
Do you recall the first show as Jimmy Whispers?
Um, yeah, or the first time I performed, well, okay, the first time I performed anything as Jimmy Whispers was like this um this public access TV show in Chicago called Chicago that was like kind of for kids, and it was like a there was like a puppet that hosted the show, and it's like they would have different like local bands come on and perform. And this guy who ran the show liked me a lot and was like, "Do you have anything you want to perform?" So I like came on the show and did that. Um, but the first actual show, I think it was like there was some just like big there was some like DIY show party thing like down the street from my apartment in Ukraine Village that was like um just some random bands playing, and like it's like somebody's birthday or something, and someone asked me if I wanted to play some songs, and I was like, um okay, and I like ran to my house and grabbed my iPod and came back and was like, "Can you plug this in?" And then I just sang a couple songs. I think that was like the first Jimmy Whispers show or something.
Did that kind of solidify like, okay, this is a good idea to continue doing this?
I mean, I kind of always planned to. I mean, I kind of always knew it was gonna like that's what it was gonna be, but it was just like happenstance. Like, oh, somebody asked me to do this, I might as well just do it. Start doing it now. Um, but yeah.
And how soon after that party gig did you get a more formal gig lined up?
Pretty immediately. Or I might have already had some shows lined up, and that's why somebody was like, "Hey, you want to play some songs?" I can't remember, honestly. Um, but yeah, it was just kind of like when I started that project, I just played as many shows as I possibly could. Uh, like out the get-go.
Was that with a band or what was the earliest lineup like for
But
those live shows?
no, the Summer in Pain, I never performed with a band. I only, because like I was saying, it was only recorded on a phone with an organ. So I never played, I always just played with a backing track and sang over it.
Oh, so you no organ even just a backing track.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because the organ weighed, 1,000 pounds or whatever.
Or keyboard or whatever, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever maybe.
Yeah. It wasn't until like more recently that I had Jimmy Whisper's songs that were multi-tracked, and so I've had a band live like more recently. Um, but yeah, Jimmy Whispers just that started as a iPhone backing track.
Do you
Yeah.
prefer to work alone within music or do you like to work with other people sometimes?
Well, I um like I mentioned, I after that Summer in Pain record, I feel like a lot of people were like who liked that record then encouraged me for some reason to do the opposite. Like you need to take it to the next level. You need to work with, you know, get cool musicians to play on your stuff and work with producers and work in the studios. And for some reason, I followed that advice. Now I'm back to kind of home recording and doing most of the stuff on my own. And I think that is makes for better music, in my case. Or like, I don't know. Collabing is nice here and there, but I prefer to record on my own, I guess, or like play my own music.
Do you look at music as being more of a solo activity or a communal activity?
It can be either for depends on the person and what their project is.
Hmm. Right. You follow up Summer in Pain with The Search for God, and that was in 2023.
Yeah. And that was like a record I made over, I guess I made that record in 2020, during like the height of lockdown. And it was me and my friend Ziad, who plays in Whitney, and he's like produced stuff for them and Dead and a few bands. He's like one of my best buddies, but him and his uh fiance at the time were living in LA, and I like demoed this record that was all like minute and a half long songs, and we so I showed him those demos, and he wanted to work on it with me, so we made it just uh in LA, or like during that time period. And that's what that record is. But he engineered and mixed it, and he played on uh like he and I took turns playing instruments back and forth. Um yeah, but that was after I had like shelved that was after I like shelved, threw away whatever, like a couple iPhone recorded records, and there was like a record I worked on for like 5 years that like so many people had their hands in or played on it, and I kind of just didn't like it after a while. But yeah, then we made that, and then it ended up coming out in 2023.
Through Car Park again.
Yeah. So, and that was the band, or that was the label that put out my old band's record, however, like 10 years prior to that. So that was funny how it kind of came full circle.
When did you start to bring in the full aspect of a band? Was that after the second release?
Um, After and a little bit before, because like I mentioned, there was like a record I spent a bunch of years working on that was like I ended up not releasing, but that was kind of like what, uh, required a band, I guess, to perform. Um, but but yeah, I don't know. I generally I'll tour with the band in the United States, but when I play in Europe, I have to go solo just because uh so I don't lose $1 million. Uh so I'm doing like a tour in September where I'm going solo. It's like Europe and UK. And yeah.
Did in the introduction of the band into the solo project, did that change the way concerts or live performances felt for you performing?
Um, yeah. A bit. Yeah, it's just a different experience. It's I mean, yeah, it feels different being on stage by yourself versus a bunch of musicians and live instruments.
I-
So
Is one better than the other, or are both just different and good and bad in their own rights?
I think the latter. Yeah.
It's a good answer. Um, yeah, what drew you out to the West? When did you decide to move to California?
Um, I moved to LA October 2016. Because um I kind of came out here to play shows and record a bunch of different times that year. And I had a lot of friends who had moved out of Chicago, or a lot of friends from different parts of the country who moved to LA. And I just kind of like a thing of I kept coming back so often. I was like, man, I should just move to LA. And it felt like things in Chicago are starting to like shift a little bit. And I honestly, I think mainly it was like the depression of like the winter, it's so dark. And there's a couple months where it's like you go to a job during the day, the sun's hasn't risen yet, and you get off work and the sun has gone down and you haven't seen the sun, and then you don't see the sun once in like a month or something, and it feels crazy.
Right.
And I don't know, I think I was like chasing sobriety also, honestly, to be very honest. And uh in a funny way, because I think at the time, like Chicago, just the music scene and stuff was so crazy as far as like drinking and drugs and whatever around the time that I left. Um, and I don't know, LA, uh, I don't know, maybe it was just where my peers were at and where I was at that age or something. But I think there is like a lot of, you know, Chicago definitely has a drinking culture. A bunch of things led me to LA, and I'm here, and it's pretty nice. And you know, it's cool.
What do you want to see from this new chapter? What do you hope it produces for you?
Um, I don't I don't know. I don't have like crazy expectations of anything. Um, just get to um be my what's the term? Becoming my authentic self.
It's a good answer. I like that answer. Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
But before I let you go, I got some promo to do here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Jimmy's music is streaming everywhere, right? Wherever people get their music, that's where they can find you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And people can find both the albums through the Bandcamp. That's the best place, right?
Yes.
That's at jimmywhispers.bandcamp.com. And this most recent release, it, the Search for God can be found through Car Park Records as well. So you find it at both those sites. And everyone can stay up to date with news, shows, tours, and everything else by following you on Instagram, right? Is that the best
Yeah.
place?
Yeah.
Perfect. And that's at Jimmy Whispers XO on Instagram. And new stuff on the horizon and the documentary. Got a lot of stuff cooking, man.
Yeah, I'm trying. Trying.
I like it. Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop.
Hang loose.
It's very Californian of you. I'm gonna stop recording this and I'll talk to you in a minute, all right?
Cool.
Well,
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
thank you.